A huge loss today in the world of Kentucky high school basketball. The state's winningest basketball coach, Billy Hicks, died at the age of 71. Thoughts and prayers have poured in from former players and coaches throughout the day. Tonight, we caught up with some of those people to talk about the impact Hicks made both on and off the court. Jeremy Toms has our top story at 10.
From the mountains of eastern Kentucky to the rolling hills of the bluegrass.
When you think Kentucky high school basketball, you think of Billy Hicks.
Coach Billy Hicks made gymnasiums his home away from home.
We had some battles. We had some battles over the year.
And he'd make it a full house throughout those winter months.
I'll never forget in, I guess it was 1999, when we were 2 in the state, they were 1 in the state, and they had to shut the doors of Scott County High School before the JV game started.
Hicks made his biggest mark at Scott County, spanning a quarter century and earning 2 state titles.
He had a decent building block when he got here, but man, he turned it into a full foundation by the time he left.
His presence never left that hardwood.
The man's got pictures all around here, championships, banners.
But what his peers, like Coach Alan Feldhouse, say they'll miss the most are the life lessons Hicks imparted.
His players loved him. I mean, he was hard on them. He demanded a lot of them, but I know a lot of those guys. He did it the right way.
And the friendships he had a knack for making along the way.
I thought him more like a father figure for me, Coach Hicks. And he didn't want to know about basketball. He just wanted to know about your life. I have the utmost respect for him, and I know he's in a place now where he can do a lot of fishing.
Jeremy Toms, WKYT.
Coach Hicks was beloved. He finished with 1,013 wins all time. The Billy Hicks Classic will go on as scheduled tomorrow. Coach Feldhouse hopes that all of the kids involved give it everything they've got because he knows that is just how Billy Hicks would want it. Many have expressed how he poured into his players both on and off the court. KHSAA Commissioner Julian Tackett says his legacy and mark on the sport will leave a lasting impact for generations to come.
And I think you'll see some statewide movement to some things that will make sure that name stays around to where that next group of kids says, tell me more about Billy Hicks.
Well, again, Billy Hicks was 71 years old. Funeral arrangements have not yet been announced.